Hello, this is my first video about SAP HANA. So, what is SAP HANA? HANA stands for High Performance Analytic Appliances. So, there are software and hardware included in it, which have fabricate more memory in the small place and powerful backup. And in the second case, software it's process the higher number of instruction in the parallel, higher compression of data. That means it stores the data in row, column, store, etc. And it stores the data in the RAM. Why HANA is faster? In more in memory database, data stored in RAM, not on slow disk. So in transition database, it fetches the records from the disk and load into the memory, and then process it and then show the result. So this is the very slow process. So in case of HANA, data is already in the memory, so you just need to filter and show the data in the faster way. So it will show in the milliseconds. And another reason is it is a parallel processing. It processes the data in the parallelly. So each column processed by one core of CPU. Because of this, which operation runs on separate core processor independently, and in last steps it merges all the result. So in memory computing engine, OLTP and OLAP. OLTP is online transaction processing. So example of OLTP is create sale order, post invoices, etc. And OLAP is online analytic processing. So example, it shows the total sales by region, year wise analysis. So HANA can do both at the same time. Earlier systems need separate tools. What is OLTP? So OLTP is online transaction processing. Simple meaning of the OLTP is it is real time transaction systems where user enters or change the data. For example, sales order creation in SAP, creating a custom record and posting a goods moment. Main features main feature of it is it handles a large number of short online transaction. Data is constantly changing, and where fast insert and update and deletion operation is occurred, and it is used for business users, so doing daily operations. What is OLAP? Is online analytic processing. Its simple meaning is it's like a reporting system which will help analyze historical data and it will take the decisions. Example of it is like monthly reports and portability analytics, etc. Inventory aging analysis. Main features, it handles the complex queries, reads large volumes of data, mostly read only and no updates, and it is used by manager analytics for decision makings. So how it works in HANA? SAP HANA is different because HANA combines both OLTP and OLAP in the single system. This is called hybrid transactional analytic processing. Traditional system is OLTP that will run on one database, ECC or Oracle. Okay, and OLAP, it have another. In the normal ECC will have the OLAP that will run on another system, like another database like BW or on Oracle. So in the HANA, as a database, everything is in memory and columnar, so it will store the data. It have the options of storing in the HANA and in the rows and column. uh, you can run any transaction in the OLAP and do any analysis in the OLAP on the same data in the real time. For example, in SAP HANA, let's say you create an sales order. So in a transition system, what it will do, OLTP save it to ECC, then BW extract that data. That will be a delay, that will include a delay. So in SAP HANA, sales order is stored in the memory, so you can immediately run a report like OLAP analytics on the live data. No need to wait for the batch data, batch jobs, column stores. In transition database, we need to create indexes to speed up the data. If it duplicates the data, index is nothing but you have to store the duplicate data, like the whole table will be copied and it will be saved by using your secondary indexing. So this is called this includes the duplication of the data, uh, and aggregation in the separate table. So staging table and aggregation table. So it will store the row store. In transition database, it generally stores the data in the row store, like first is employee ID, then it's employee name, then it's salary, then it's, so it will be a row by row storage. So if you want all records, all column, then row store is good. But in the HANA DB, it stores each column in separate tiny tables. Like aggregation data, it aggregates data much faster because it don't need to traverse every column, don't need to secondary indexes. It does not need to uh, have the secondary indexes, because every column is stored in the as a tiny table within the memory. So for example, first is the column 1, employee number, and then employee name, then its team, then its salary, and then its location. So what it will do, so in every column, first you can say first is the employee ID, so it will be a unique and it will have a unique records. But other than key, it will have a repeated records, like for example, Rani is an employee and there can be another Rani, name of employee as a Rani, or the salary, where any second or third individual may have the same salary details, salary amount. So what it will, how it will store, it will store the unique records with a identical employee code, so that it can get identifies as this unique record is used for how many of the unique keys. Data compression, it doesn't store repeating data again and again. So as I said, it stores the data in value and index pairs and less memory, so that it requires very less memory. And number index can process much faster than character. Okay, so this is the number indexed, so it can be processed much faster than a character. And when to choose a row, there is a question arises when to choose a row column, row store, and when to choose a column store. So the answer is, um, for the row store, the table which we can say the tables which you need to update frequently but not read frequently. So you need to update it frequently, but you don't need to read it frequently. You can store it in the row. And always reading, and if you're always reading all the columns, then row store is good to go. And if the data is large number of unique values, then there is good to store a row store. So when will be the ideal condition to make a column store database? When you read very frequently, instead of when you read it, if the table is not able to, if you're not doing frequent updation in the table, but you are using it, you are reading it frequently, then you can go with a column store. If you need very few columns, if you have a table which have a 130 something record, but if you need frequently only 5 to 6 column at a time, then you should go with the column store. And when the data is repeating, so if you have the 130 column, obviously other than the key records, it will get repeated. So in that case, if the data is repeating, you should go with a column store. And if you need to do any aggregation or analytics very frequently, or which is very important for any business team to analyze the data, so in that case you can go with the column store. What is CXAMDP error? So it is a standard exception class in ABAP that is used to handle errors in AMDP. What is AMDP? Is ABAP managed database procedures. So whenever something goes wrong while running your AMDP method, so which is what is AMDP? So AMDP is written in which language? In SQL scripts. So it is running in the HANA. The system arises this exception. So whenever something goes wrong, so this exception will arise. It is triggered when there is a syntax error in the SQL code. In the runtime, error occurs in the HANA. Okay, so it will include, for example, like division of 0 and missing table and missing invalid data. So if you use invalid SQL script statement, so it will also capture this you'll this exception if you're doing any mistakes, or if you're doing any syntactical errors. This method is not implemented properly. Incorrect signature. What is the difference between SC24 class and AMDP? So what is the difference between SC24 and AMDP? The answer is the standard ABAP class created using transaction SC24, whereas you write the ABAP code for the business logic like UI and logistics, etc. But in the AMDP class, a special class is used to write the HANA native SQL script logic. So it is used for high performance operations. So the idea is that when you have a process, like if you have a process or if you have a report, but so report may have a different parts, like data fetching part, data displaying part. So if your data fetching part is taking 50% of the memory, and it is a very what can say, very costly statements, like uh, the statements which are using more memory or which are using more time, so that code we need to we used to do we used to put in the AMDP, because AMDP is much faster, so that it will handle that costly statement which which takes more time. So the it will give the solution that these time consuming or uh, data more memory consuming statements, we need to put it in the AMDP and it will handle it very easily. So let's compare the SC24 class and AMDP. The language is used in the SC24 class is ABAP, and in case of AMDP it is SQL script for methods marked with AMDP. Data specific, database specific. So it is not a database specific, but yes, this is data specific. This is used for SAP HANA. Performance wise, if you take a SC24 class, it is slower for large database due to application layer processing, and in case of AMDP it is um, faster for large data because logic run inside the HANA DB layer. So where logic runs, so in the SC24 where the logic runs, the logic is run in the application server in case of SC24, but in case of AMDP the logic is run on the database server, that is SAP HANA. It will be on native NetWare, and here is SAP HANA. Use case: general ABAP development and business logic. Data in So where we use this SC24 class, it is for general ABAP development and business logic. And where we use the MDP, data intensive calculation or complex aggregation or big data filtering. So in such cases we use AMDP created using what created by using what SC24 class. So there is a T code SC24 or via class code. So that only. S24 is the transaction. By using this you can create a global class in the SAP logon. So whereas in the AMDP it can also be created by SC24 or class code, but with marker like interface. You have to use the interface, which is IF AMDP marker HDB. So what will be the method type for both? Method type is in case of SC24 class, it's normal and ABAP method, and whereas in the AMDP we use the special method which is marked with AMDP keyword. So what is AMDP? AMDP is ABAP managed database procedure. So the use of AMDP, what is the use of the AMDP? We use the AMDP when we want our code to run directly on the HANA database instead of an ABAP application server. It makes it faster for data heavy operations. Why do we need AMDP? Transitional ABAP. So why do we need actually AMDP? So in the transitional ABAP we fetch the data from the database into the memory. Okay, so all the data will be fetched from the application server to the memory and then process it, but this can be slow. So when we are working with millions of records, so if we are fetching millions of records from the database layer to the memory layer, so what will happen? The server will go down. It will become very slow for the millions of records. So what's the solution in that? The solution is AMDP So in the AMDP, it allows to push the logic to the database. It uses the HANA's full power via SQL script. It returns the result directly to the ABAP. So what is the marker interface? Marker interface means it does not contain any method or attributes. No, it's not contain any attributes. It is like a normal interface. It is used to signal that ABAP runtime and compiler that the class is eligible to contain AMDP for the HANA-DB. So what is the main difference between AMDP class and normal web class is this interface. If you are using this interface with the creation of your class, then it will term as a AMDP, and if you are not using this interface, then it will term as a normal SE24 ABAP class. The purpose of interface: IF AMDP marker HDB HANA database is a marker interface used in the ABAP class to indicate that class will contain the AMDP method, so that can be implemented in HANA SQL script. So what are the key points? So let's list out the key points. Without implementing if AMDP marker HDB, you cannot use by database procedure. Okay, for HDB in a method. If you are not implementing this, you cannot use it. If you are implementing this, you have to write it like data procedure for HDB in a method. So the language which will use is the SQL script only. This enables the writing SQL script logic inside ABAP and execute it directly on HANA, which is faster due to the code push down. So what is the code push down? We will see in the next session. Also, let's see a sample example. So this is how you have to implement. First of all, you have to implement the class with the interface. Okay, and then within the class you have to give it with the class itself that you have to use. You are the implementing interface, plus you have to mark the method as well, like procedure, like for example, for the normal method we use method name and end method, that's it. But for AMDP method, what we have to do additionally is we have to define it with by database procedure for HDB, language, SQL script, and optional read only. So you have the options as well. By database procedure, this means this method is implemented inside the database, not in an ABAP language. You are not implementing in a ABAP language, but you are implementing it in the database, because we are already declared it by database procedure. So for HDB, what is HDB is HDB stands for HANA database. So this method will work only on the systems by using the SAP HANA. Okay, so if you don't have SAP HANA, it will not run. So language we are using is SQL script, and that is SAP HANA own language. SQL script is its own language, similar to SQL but with more features. It is like a SQL but it have more features. So it is used for writing queries, loops, if else conditions, complex calculations, etc. So you are writing logic in SQL script instead of ABAP. And optionals are also there, like read only, and will only read the data from the database. and will not make any changes in the database. So you will have the options as well. That's it. Thank you.